What's up, builders? This is Raise the Bar Radio, where we talk about building wealth, raising capital, and all in all, raising the bar in your business and your life. This is the No BS podcast for capital raisers, investors, and entrepreneurs who are serious about scaling their business and living life on their own terms. I'm Seth Bradley, securities attorney, real estate investor, and entrepreneur, bringing you world-class strategies from the best in the game. If you're ready to raise more capital, close bigger deals, build a better you, and create true financial freedom, you're in the right place. Let's go. Eli, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Excited to be here, and I know we're going coast to coast today, so this will be good.
Absolutely, man. So we chatted beforehand, but I think you're tuning in on a road trip right now, so you're living proof of what you do, right?
Yeah, totally. We are, well, this part's kind of like a road trip. We're in West Palm Beach right now, but this is basically leg number 2 out of, will end up being probably an 8-month nomadic adventure with me and my fiance and our little puppy. And so we're in West Palm Beach right now in Florida. We head to Europe in less than a month, and we'll be bounced around different parts of Europe for about 4 months roughly before we decide where we're going to go next, which we're not exactly sure.
That's awesome, man. Are you using all your hacks and secrets and travel tips that you put out there?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we just got back from a crazy trip to Japan. This was really cool. I run an entrepreneur mastermind. So we integrated our own trip around Japan around this mastermind event. So I had 53 people come out for like 8 days. We went snowboarding in the mountains in Niseko, in the northern part. And then we went down to Tokyo for the cherry blossoms. But for myself personally, to get there and back and do a lot of the hotels, we used points. We saved over 50 grand just on that portion of the trip. We then, flew down to West Palm on points, and then going over to Europe, and a lot of the stays over there will also be leveraging the point strategies that I help clients use and that I talk about on social media and the stuff that we'll dive into today. But yeah, I like to be living proof of it because it's pretty awesome. It's something that's really impacted my life. I love doing it. And when I do it, I get to share it too. So it has like a multiple benefit for everybody.
That's awesome, man. I'm excited, dude. I'm excited to dig in here because it's just for my own personal benefit and education, because I'm super stoked about this stuff, and I travel a lot with my fiance, my wife, and it's something I'm personally interested in as well. We've had past conversations too, so it's great to have you on, man. So yeah. Just to start off, man, if you meet somebody in the street and they ask you what you do, how do you explain that in a sentence, right? Without going into some crazy tangent about all the awesome things that you do. How do you answer that question?
Yeah, it really does depend on the situation. But I oftentimes will ask a couple questions because it makes it easier for people to understand. So usually it's like, do you have any big dream bucket list trip you've ever wanted to take? And they'll be like, oh yeah, Greece. I'm like, well, what we do is we help you get to Greece in business or first class, stay in 5-star hotels, have the trip of your dreams at about 90% off. So that's kind of the tagline, is take the trip of your dreams for about 90% off. And, I'll get into the whole point side of things, but some people don't know what points are, or some are really, well studied in that world. So I just lead with the trip because that's usually what people want. They want to have the experience where it's you and your wife flying first class, sipping champagne on the way to Paris to go see the Eiffel Tower, and the points and the credit cards. That's really the mechanism. That's how we make the experience happen. But at the end of the day, what we want is the amazing memories, the beautiful experience, all that stuff. So I lead with the trip when I talk about it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, you're literally selling the dream, right? Like in marketing, you sell the dream or hit on a pain point. Exactly, you are the quintessential selling the dream. That's what everybody thinks about. So
right. Well, it's funny because, in marketing, they'll say sell the destination, not the vehicle, right? They'll be like, sell the outcome, not how you get there. And so we do that in our marketing. But then when you think about it, when people are taking a trip, what we are helping them do is make the vehicle to get to the destination part of the destination. Because really, when you travel well and you do it in style, the flight becomes a part of the trip that you're excited for. You're like, I can't wait to see the different, the drinks and the champagne and the food they're going to have and how awesome the seat is and the movie selection, how big's the screen. At least for people that love to travel, it becomes a fascination of the trip, not just getting there, right? And so that's a big difference maker when people start to go on these flights, and this is what a lot of our clients will say, and for me, it goes from flying economy and be like, I'm counting down the hours to get off this freaking plane, to can we do another lap around the city? Because I'd love to just hang out here longer, right? And the flight attendants treat you really well. So yeah, it's a whole experience.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's great. Was there a trip that you went on personally where you just kind of thought, man, I can turn this into a business, right? Like you were just enjoying it so much that you just were like, oh, like the light bulb went off, or how did this business spawn?
Yeah, there wasn't one trip that I made the connection between like, this trip is awesome, let me start a business. But there was one trip that gave me the light bulb of, oh my God, I am obsessed with this. I need to learn everything I can. There was zero intention or thought about a business that when it first started. And I'll take you back about 10 years. So I was around 22 years old and I'm just coming out of college. And basically I'm in my mom's basement. And I remember this really like heavy feeling because I went to a good university near New York City and all my friends went to Wall Street. And they were making like 6 figures plus right out of school. And I had this like entrepreneurial bug. I was like, that's not for me. I don't want to sit in an office. I don't care if I can make a lot of money. I want to like play life on my terms, even if it means I'm making less. So at this point, I have friends that are making tons of money, you know, lots of disposable income, and I'm making like 20 grand a year. I'm working 4 side jobs. I was trying to build a company. And I remember getting this text and my like stomach just like dropped because I was like, shit, I'm going to miss out on this incredible experience. And it was friends inviting me to go to Thailand. And I was like, if I don't figure out a better strategy of either how to make more money or figure something out, I'm not gonna be able to go on this trip. And I was like, damn, this is gonna be just like, you know, a life of missing out on experiences. Is that what it means to follow my dreams with entrepreneurship? Is like, I have to forgo everything that my other friends are doing. And so I was like, let me think about this differently. And I had a mentor that told me, you don't need more money, you need a better strategy. And he was talking about growing a business. But for me, I was like, oh wait, there's this credit card points thing. Like, what if I can figure that out? So I ended up piecing it together. I got a trip to Thailand for free. I had this amazing experience with some of my best friends. It's like still, you know, 13 friends in Thailand at age like 22, 23, like memories you don't get back. So I was really grateful to have that. And then I came back from that trip and I got another flight probably like a year later to Europe in business class, where it was a $6,000 ticket that I paid $6 for. Now after that one, I came off that flight and I was like, I will read every blog, I will watch every YouTube video, I will learn everything about this, because it meant I could travel the world and have this incredible lifestyle without having to go take a corporate job. So I was like, I get to have my entrepreneurial dream and the travel I want without any trade-offs, and I was like, this is amazing. So that was my first time I got hooked. It took me years of researching and reading blogs and websites and doing the stuff for myself before I even had the thought of helping anyone else. I just became obsessed with it on my own.
I love that you recognize you had the entrepreneurial bug early on, right? Before you got drugged down into, you know, the corporate ladder, and then you got the golden handcuffs, we like to call it, and that sort of thing, where it gets much, much harder to escape that gravity. I know for myself, it took a really long time. I ended up I went to med school, then I got my MBA, and then I went to law school, and then I worked in a big law firm, and it just took me all this time to figure out, like, I don't want this.
Right.
And I think
the social pressure alone of like everyone you're around is going one way. It takes a lot of guts for you to zig when everyone else is zagging. Like, it's not easy to do.
For sure. Yeah, it's tough, right? Especially when you see your friends making 6 figures right out of college. You're like, man, I could do that right now if I wanted to do it, right. But I don't want that. So it takes guts to be able to go out there and do your own thing.
Totally. And I think everyone has their own version of that still. Like, there's even flavors of that today that are still like existing for me, where it's like everyone's kind of going this way, but when I like really get quiet and listen to myself, I'm like, yeah, that you could do that, but like you actually, what your soul or your heart really wants is like to go over here. And so I've always just tried to listen to that more, because I think about like one of my North Stars is, you know, at the end of my life, like I'm 80, 90 years old, I do the rocking chair test and look back, it's like, what regret would I rather not have when I'm 90? I'd always rather be like, I bet on myself than like I took the sure, you know, the well-paved path, which is the old cliche, but I think it's really true.
Totally. I love that North Star, man. Have you ever asked ChatGPT to give you advice as your 80 or 90-year-old self?
Yeah, I actually created a custom GPT, and it's my future me that coaches current me. So I
love it, man.
Exactly.
I love it. Yeah, it's great. It gives you great insight. You start reading, you're like, oh, right. This is good.
Exactly. Yeah, totally.
Awesome, man. Well, let's get back kind of on the business of travel, right? So somebody comes to you, you know, they do that introduction that we talked about. You get in a deeper conversation. You know, they're super interested in it. They want to learn more about, you know, these travel hacks and strategies. Like, where do they start? Where do you point them? Yeah.
So in terms of the process, I like to chunk it into 3 main buckets. And it's important to have context around this game, because if you don't, it just starts to feel like there's so many moving pieces and who has time for that, and it's too confusing, and then it becomes overwhelming, and overwhelm just basically leads to inaction. And then that is the person who's like, well, I just don't want to do that. I'll just take a cash back card, or I'll just stick to my Delta card, right? And so when you have the right context, you can start to understand the highest leverage moves to make, and then you know really how to get the result you want with the least amount of effort. So that's what we focus on. And specifically, like, I've worked with probably over 1,000 business owners now. And with business owners, investors, and entrepreneurs, it's a different, the points game takes on a different context, right? Because usually the constraint we have to solve for is time and complexity. And if you work a 9 to 5, after 5 o'clock, you've got hours for your night. But entrepreneurs, it's like every hour is kind of an asset that you can use. So it's a little bit different. So the 3 buckets are, the first one is to maximize the points that you earn. So this happens from getting the right cards and the right expenses, because all of these different points are like currencies. So you want to earn the right type of points, and then you want to maximize the amount of them by getting the right cards and the right expenses. So that's the first piece, and that's really, really key, because nothing else happens if you don't get that right. The second bucket is going to be to upgrade and optimize your travel. So you've got domestic trips for a conference. Are you getting TSA pre-check and clear? Are you getting the best lounges? Are you getting first class upgrades and free bags and hotel suite upgrades and free breakfast at the hotels and free Wi-Fi? Really, it's just like, there's all these opportunities available for people that are traveling domestically for work, for family events, your kind of ordinary travel you might have. And what we want to do is we just want to enhance the quality of all of that and reduce all the headaches and annoyances by maximizing benefits on cards and status perks and all the kind of like little tactics that you can play. So that's the second thing that just makes your travel more comfortable. And then the third bucket, which is really the most important in terms of impact in your life and the most meaningful piece, is to take your dream bucket list trips for 70 to 90% off. And so that's where you're going to take the points that you've accumulated. You're going to use some strategies that I can break down here around transferring these points from the banks to the airlines and hotels. And you're going to get these dream trips for literally a fraction of what they should cost if you were paying cash, or compared to if you were using your points through a site like Amex Travel or Capital One Travel or Chase Travel. Okay, so that's a mouthful, but those are the 3. So maximize your points, get the best possible upgrades, and then take your dream trips for 90% off.
Yeah, dive into one of those connecting strategies there that you mentioned.
Yeah, so I'll talk first about the cards, because that's the order. This is the first mistake that most business owners and individuals are making, is they're just getting random cards. They're like, well, I live in Dallas, so let me get the American card, or I live in Atlanta, so I'll get the Delta card, or whatever it may be, or I live in San Diego and I fly domestic, so I'll just get the Southwest card. What they don't realize is that, again, these points are like currencies. And so if I told you, hey, do you want 150 Mexican pesos or 150 US dollars for your couch that you're selling on Facebook Marketplace, you're obviously going to take the US dollars, right? Because the currency is much higher. But with points, people don't realize that. So they might be racking up Hilton points or Delta miles or other points and miles that just aren't as valuable as other ones out there. And then they burn through them quick, or they don't go as far, and they end up just basically sitting there being like, what? I feel like I should be getting more. This is the common thing I hear. I feel like this should be taking me further, but like, it's not doing much. And so what we want to focus on is bank points that are transferable. So certain banks have this ability to convert the points to the airline and hotel loyalty programs. And what happens is the banks have a different way of pricing than the airlines do. And certain airlines and certain hotels have really good, what we call sweet spots, or opportunities for you to get the best possible deals. Okay, so when you earn these effective points, which the top ones I recommend are generally Amex, Chase, and Capital One. And there's a new program, Built, actually is out, where you can put your rent on a card with no fees and earn points. It's really cool. But when you get those right, and then you look through your expenses and you say, what do I spend the most on? Is it groceries and dining in the personal side? Cool. There's a card like the Amex Gold that is specifically really good for those types of expenses. Then you look at your business. What do I spend a lot on? Is it ads and software and taking clients out for dinners? Great. The Amex Business Gold earns 4 points per dollar on those categories. But maybe it's you're spending a lot on flights for company travel, or maybe you have inventory you're buying, or you're paying a lot of contractors, or you have a lot of payroll. You want to assess where you're spending the most money and make sure you have the optimal card lined up for that type of expense. So I'll pause there, but that's kind of the first bucket. The other one is on using the points effectively, which I can talk about too, is pretty powerful. But that first one is really the linchpin, because if you have a bunch of Delta miles and you want to go to Europe, I'll give an example, actually one more before I kind of pause. There was an example recently I saw of a client, and they wanted to go to Europe, and we're looking at different options. This was from JFK to Amsterdam. If you have Delta miles, the ticket for Delta One, this big, awesome Delta suite, was 320,000 miles. That's what Delta was charging to go from JFK to Amsterdam. It's a really expensive amount of miles. But the same exact flight, like same flight number, same aircraft, everything, if you booked it through Virgin Atlantic, it was 50,000 miles. 1/7 of the amount almost. Is really, really big difference. And so here's the kicker, right? If you have a Delta card, you only earn Delta miles, so you have to pay the 320,000. But if you had an Amex card that earned Amex points, so like the Amex Gold or Business Gold, you could actually convert those points into Virgin to book the Delta flight because Virgin and Delta are partners, and you'd pay 50,000 points instead of 320,000. So this is the part where, like, for people that kind of get this, they're like, whoa, and the other people are like, what did you just say? So I get it can be tricky for some people that are just getting to grasp it, but I want to make sure to lay out the whole game so people can understand really what's possible for them.
Totally. Yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm sure people out there listening, it's both, right? Some people know these things exist, but they don't know the extent of it, and you're opening up their minds regardless, right? Like totally. All the possibilities. I think most people are just like, sure, I need to find a great card that has a great, welcome offer of some sort. Right. That's usually what people look at, and then they just, try to perhaps they take it a step further and they're looking to see like what they spend money on the most, and they'll calibrate that card to that. Right. But you're taking a step further because it's kind of just opening yourself up to knowing all the possibilities, right? All these different connections, where to spend the points, where you can earn the points, those sorts of things. How thick is your wallet, man? Is your wallet like this and it's got 25 cards in it or what?
Well, caveat this first by saying when we work with clients and when I do recommendations for people, I always recommend, if you have a business, 2 to 3 personal cards and 2 to 3 business cards. That is a simple way to set this up. That's only 4 to 6 cards across both things. That's enough where you're really going to get some serious ROI, but it's not so much that's really complicated. Some people are kind of curmudgeons about it, like, I only want one card. And I'm like, that's fine. There's no right or wrong in this. It's really preferential. But you should just know if you do that, you're going to be leaving, for most business owners that spend at least a few thousand a month, that's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars of free trips a year. So I'm like, is your simplicity of having one card worth that much? If it is, great. But maybe having a second or third card doesn't add that much complexity. But if you get an extra $30,000 a year trip out of it, probably worth it, right? So that's the first thing. But to answer your actual question, so I have an entire thing called the Credit Man Purse. It's like this portfolio binder, and it's just stacked with cards. I mean, I have over 40 credit cards, but I've been doing this for a long time, right? And there's like, here's the thing also with credit, a big question, right? A lot of investors, specifically people that are doing real estate or business owners, they really want to keep their credit clean. And we're huge advocates of it, actually not just keeping your credit score the same, but improving it over time. And when you get business cards, they don't show up on your personal credit report. Okay, the vast majority. The inquiry will, but the actual card won't. And some banks, you can actually get multiple cards with no additional inquiries. So like when we do a custom card plan for someone, or when we're just recommending it, we're always saying like, make sure to look at which banks you already have relationships with, which ones you can get a soft pull from. The order matters of these card applications. But at the end of the day, you just want a couple of specific cards that are really going to be custom built for you, and you don't have to go crazy with it. If you get excited and you're like passionate about it, you can get 10, 15, 20 cards over the course of several years. And if you do it right underneath your businesses, it's not going to drop your personal credit score. Your personal credit score will actually go up over time.
That's a good hack, man. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I'm going to explain like what I see a lot of the people that are probably listening to this show have in place structure-wise, like organizational structure. And it's kind of similar to mine. Mine's probably a lot more complicated, but just to keep it simple, there might be a parent company, right? Like this overhead parent company that owns everything. So let's call it parent company, right? And then below the parent company owns, let's say, a management company. This management company probably manages funds, manages properties, manages equity for investors, that sort of thing. And then they also might have these other businesses, right? Like it just depends on the person. Like for instance, I own gyms and some other in my law firm, things like that. So they might have these own individual operating companies that owns a gym or owns another business or does these other things. So based on that structure, so you've got a parent company, you've got let's call it an equity management or fund management or property management company, and then you've got kind of this other operating business. How would you structure, or what credit cards, I guess, would you kind of recommend? Not necessarily specific ones, but
but how would you
need
think
one
about
for
that?
all three, or how would you think about that?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's a super common question. Like this is exactly the kind of clientele that we work with all the time, where they're like, are you sure this is going to work for me? I have, 4 rental properties, 2 companies, 1 holding company. I have an investment thing. I have this thing over here. It's like, yeah, it all works. So simple is the key. So it's always a spectrum too. Like some people are, again, really minimalist with like what they want. And we always, like when we're doing this for a client, we custom build it. But the real recommendation there is we want to, again, assess which of these companies are actually generating the highest amount of spend. And those are the ones we want to start with first in terms of cards and really optimizing. Now, if you have a bunch of different companies and they all have a bunch of spend, the first key thing to know is that the points will go to the business owner, the person who personally guaranteed the card, not to the business. So there's no like business points account. It's underneath your name, even if it's underneath the LLC. So the points go to you. So if you have like 6 different companies and you have like 3 Chase cards and 3 Amex cards, all of those 3 Chase cards and all of those 3 Amex cards are going to basically funnel up to your account. Okay. So that keeps it simple in terms of how you can think about like accruing these points. They're not going to be scattered everywhere where you can't use them. So that's good to know. Same with the airlines, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's an airline or a bank card. So that's the first thing. For these management companies, usually a lot of them don't have much spend. So what we'll tend to do is just get one card that is like a catch-all card. And so this would be a card that we want to have earn around 1.5 to 2 points per dollar spent. Because what we've done is we've taken the floor of what you're going to earn on your everyday spend and we just increase it by 50 to 100%. Okay, so like let's say a parent company is used for some client meetings and some basic legal and admin stuff, and it's like $1,500 a month just to do upkeep and normal stuff like that. And it's not a crazy amount of different categories to spend. You're not running ads, you don't have that much software, there's not really a lot of travel happening with it. Right, if that's the case, then what we want to do is get a card, maybe like the Chase Ink Unlimited, which earns 1.5x on everything. And we'll say, look, we're going to keep this simple. That holding company doesn't have a lot of points earning power. So let's make sure we get a card on it just to earn, but we don't want to like go crazy and get a bunch of cards and try to maximize every dollar. But this company that owns 4 different gyms and spends $50K a month on equipment and advertising and payroll and all this stuff, that's the company where we want to look to get maybe 2 or 3 cards that are specifically aligned with that business's spend, because that is where you as an entrepreneur, as an owner, are going to be generating the most return. It's going to be from that one entity. So hopefully that breaks it down in a way that makes sense. But this is also where, again, having like your cards across 2 to 3 main banks will keep it relatively simple. Because even if you have, 4 different entities, if it's under one Amex login, that makes it nice and easy too.
Pardon the interruption, but we don't do ads. Instead, know that if you're raising capital for real estate, my law firm, Raise Law, is here to give you the expert legal guidance you need to raise capital compliantly and structure and close your deal. And if you're looking for a done-for-you fund-to-fund solution, TribeVest is the industry's only all-in-one setup and fund administration solution. Visit raise.law and tribevest.com to learn more. Totally. Awesome, man. I knew you could handle that. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
Cool, man. Let's go to number 2, right? Using the points effectively. You kind of touched on a little bit of that strategy, but let's jump into that.
Yeah. So the second thing was optimizing the upgrades and all that. I'll cover that one really quick.
Oh, okay.
If you're going through the airport and you don't have TSA PreCheck and clear and lounge access, you're missing out on some really easy perks that'll just make your life way more enjoyable. So that's the first thing. There's a lot you can do with hotel upgrades and status. So like when I travel, I'm going to Miami tonight for a conference. I have status at Hyatt. I'm staying at Hyatt for 2 of the nights down here. I probably will get upgraded to a suite that's worth like $1,000 to $1,500 a night, because I know how to use the suite night certificates, my globalist status, I know how to message the hotel the right way. So there's some strategies there where if you do that, whenever you're traveling, you just get a much better experience. You get early check-in, late check-out, the free suite upgrade, much more spacious room. A lot of times they have lounges at the property. Like when we were in Tokyo, a bunch of us stayed at the Grand Hyatt there. They had a beautiful lounge overlooking the city. They had breakfast every morning. They had drinks all day. They had a great lounge area. We actually had a mastermind session in there, and they had like a 15-person breakout room for us to go to. It cost us $0 to use it. They had, afternoon drinks and stuff like that. So these are just the things that make your travel much better. So small tweaks that over time just, again, make it a much more enjoyable experience. But that bucket on how you use your points, this is one of the most critical pieces. And I've already kind of alluded to it with that Delta One example. But I'll share another one. So on the way to Japan, right, we flew ANA business class. This is All Nippon. It's one of the premier airlines in the world for international business class travel. They actually have a seat called the room because it's so spacious and big. You get your own big sliding door. They have like an omakase menu. You've got ramen, champagne. It's like really, really good, amazing, sake and green tea and all this good stuff. So it was like an incredible way to fly. And, it's an 11-hour flight and I didn't sleep a wink because I was just eating the whole time. But here's the deal, right? So that flight for my fiance and I, it would have been $20,000 for the two of us. It's $10,000 a piece. Okay, San Francisco to Tokyo. We're going in peak season, mind you. So I have 3 options to book that flight. I pay cash for it, which, I do decent in business, but I'm not dropping 20 grand on flights just to get to Japan. Like that's way out of my bucket of what I would ever want to do. The second option, I go to the bank site. Okay, so again, if you have Amex points, a lot of people have Amex cards, like the platinum or the gold card. And this is a good start, but when you go to the bank site, each point is worth 1 penny. Okay, this is the baseline value of a point. So what happens is if you go to Amex Travel, they'll say, okay, this flight would cost, let's call it 20 grand. So 20 grand times 1 cent for each point equals 2 million points. So my second option would have been to go to Amex's site and pay 2 million points, which I don't even have. Okay, so I'm like, that wouldn't have even worked. But that's what most people are doing that use points. They're going directly to the bank site and they're booking using Amex Travel and they're getting absolutely screwed. Okay. There's and then there's a third option, which is to go through the airline site. So there's like 3A and 3B. 3A would be like, again, you only have Delta miles and you're kind of screwed going just to Delta. I don't recommend that. But the last option is what we did, which is where we had Amex points and Chase points. And I looked at my different options and I said, okay, what are the best partner airlines I can book through to get to Japan? Well, it turns out ANA is a part of the Star Alliance. Okay. United is also part of that alliance. Chase and United have a partnership where I could convert my Chase points into United miles. When I looked that up, I ended up finding the deal, and there's ways you have to kind of search this and track it. But that same flight that would have cost me 2 million points through Amex or Chase Travel directly cost me 220,000 points to transfer from Chase to United. And I paid $12 out of pocket. Okay, so $20,000 flight, I paid $12. But how did I do it? I had the right points first. I had enough of them because I had the right cards and the right expenses. I knew how to search for this flight. And then I was able to transfer these points from Chase into the airline. So the hardest part of this entire process is figuring out the points transfers and which partners are the right ones for certain airlines. That gets very nuanced and complicated. It's kind of like, if you were talking to a CPA and someone's trying to explain how like the Augusta rule works, whatever, and like the CPA pulls up like the tax code and is like unveiling this long list of tax jargon. The average person is just like, what? Just like, tell me how to do it, right? That's kind of the same thing here. There's a lot of different like angles and transfer partners and bonuses and alliances and partnerships, and it gets kind of complicated, but that's how it works.
Totally. So let's talk about that. Like how do you help people keep track of that or learn that or execute, I guess, on that?
Sure.
The strategies.
Yeah. So for us, our company really has 2 main levels to it. So we have a community-based level where it's like you're just getting the fast track, you're getting help from experts. So I'm really good at this, but I'm more of an entrepreneur than a points nerd. So as I built this, initially I was the one, on the phone with all the clients, walking everyone through it, and then, built a team. So I found basically some of the other points nerds in the world that I was mind blown by. I knew them from social media and just seeing their stuff, and I was like, that person knows their stuff. So I brought them onto the team, and so our clients will interact with both me and them inside of our community, but it's not just points. We're also providing really cool travel experiences. So for example, I posted this, but I'm going kiteboarding in Egypt in June on this epic like entrepreneur kiteboard trip where it's 40 entrepreneurs going to learn how to kiteboard together and masterminding all in one. And so I'm attending, I sent it out to our clients, and I said, hey, if you want to come on this, our team will help you plan the flights out there on your points so you can get business class on the way out. So I like to, because ultimately I want to help people. My mission is to help people create more experiential wealth in their life. There's financial wealth, and a lot of people accumulate dollars, but they're not turning it into experiences. So I'm like, let's create more experiential wealth, and the points are the way to justify it. So we have that community level where you get access to our team. There's calls you can jump on, ways we help you plan trips. And then we have the done for you services where we basically just handle it for you. That's more like, think of like a travel agency on points for entrepreneurs. That's more of what that is. And in there, we'll do the custom card planning and map out what cards you need based off of what your specific spends are and stuff like that. So we do some pretty deep intake. And we kind of are almost like a travel agent. It's a little bit different in some ways, but that's basically the 2 levels in how we help people.
Great, man. I love how you build in the experience, right? Like that's part of it. Like that's what you're teaching anyway. So it's like, it's not like, hey, join this group and then we'll talk about all these things. You're actually doing it. You're actually inviting them to execute on what you're teaching, so that they can see it in motion and then they can continue to do it and experience life at a different level.
I really love it too. So like, I'm like everyone that works with us is usually a pretty cool person. Like, if you're an entrepreneur and you have the guts to build your own business and then you want to travel the world, like by nature of that, you're already probably a pretty cool person. Like the majority of people that are doing that, I think well-traveled people are some of the most interesting people. If you want the best stories in life, like someone who's traveled the world is going to have some stories for you. And so when you combine those two, it's like, these are people I want to hang out with anyway. So like I'm going on a trip to Egypt. I'm like, come with, like whoever in the community wants to come, let's have a party. Let's go do it. So it's a great thing.
Awesome, man. How are you raising the bar in your life and your business right now? Like what are you doing to build your business further, building off of some of the things that you're offering right now? Where are you taking it to the next level?
Yeah, so we have a new project we're rolling out inside of our community, which I'm really excited about, which is even just in like our lower tier membership. And it's called our Dream Trip Alert System. And so what this is when people come in, this has never been done before in the world of points and miles or travel at all. So like we're the first to do this, which I'm really excited about. So let's say you were to sign up. You're going to come in and give us your dream trip destinations, the seasons or windows that you could go, the points you have, your home airport, all this stuff. And our team is going through, and we're not just finding you like a flight, because there are different alerts out there. They'll be like, hey, we found a flight. And it's like, cool, one way from LA to London, but like, what am I going to do when I'm there? Where am I going to stay? How am I getting back? Right? It's like part of the puzzle, but it leaves a lot on you to figure out. And for our clients, most business owners and entrepreneurs, investors, they're too busy to piece all that together. So they're like, well, cool, that doesn't really help me. So what we decided to do, we said, what if we just basically sent people like a mystery subscription box of their dream trips? And so when you come in, you fill that out, we gather it. And then a couple times a month, we're going to send out alerts where it's like a $30, $40, or $50,000 type trip somewhere incredible in the world. We're talking Greek islands, Amalfi Coast, Japan, New Zealand, African safaris, Maldives, Bora Bora, places like that, business and first class flights, 5-star hotels, for pennies on the dollar. So these are like, again, $40,000 trips where people will end up paying $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 out of pocket. And so we're going to send the entire trip to you. So it's like the flights, the hotels, the entire step-by-step booking, the recommendations on the ground, the entire experience. And so we're sending those out. So people come in, they tell us when, where, like the things they want to do. And then they're just going to get these alerts. Whereas like every month they'd be like, you know, you're sitting there with your wife. Hey babe, you want to go to Bora Bora in like June? It's going to cost us like $800 and it would be a $30,000 trip. It's like, that's what I want. That's what I want to create. So that's us raising the bar in the industry and in our business. I'm very excited. It's brand new for us. So I'm just pumped to see that continue to roll out. Because it's, again, for me, the mission is to help people live with experiential wealth in the form of travel. And so usually there's some barriers that get in the way. There's time, there's planning, and then there's cost. And what we're trying to do is like eliminate as many of those barriers as we can to make it just easier to say yes to the trip.
Yeah. Man, sign me up, dude. Sign me up.
All right.
I feel like you've got to get both significant others on your list, right? Like, so they both see it, and whoever's like the person is like, we've got to do this. You get both of them, and then they convince the other one to do it.
Yeah, exactly. There's usually one. There's usually like sometimes it's the husband's on the call and he's like, dude, I don't know where we ever travel. Like, I'm going to pay for this. My wife's going to do everything. Or it's the opposite, where the guy's like, you know, she just shows up and I tell her where we're going. And so, like, that's my relationship. I'll be like, you know, it's my industry, my passion. I'm like, we're going here and then here. And she's like, tell me where to be. And she just has no idea where we are. And she just loves it. And I'm like, I like planning. So, you know, but it's different for everybody. For
sure, man. All right, brother, this has been incredible. Tell our audience where they can find out more about you, where they can get involved with all the incredible things that they've heard on this show.
Totally.
Throw it out there, man.
Yeah, a couple main places. So the first thing I'll share is that we have what I call the CEO Points Playbook. This is something I custom built. It took me a long time, and this was not a ChatGPT prompt. Like, I really built this on my own. And it is like a 30 to 40 page playbook that any business owner or entrepreneur can use to really maximize their travel experiences, get better bucket list trips, figure out the right cards for them. And it's normally $150, but if you go to freedomtravelsystems.com // playbook and you put in the code RAISE, you're going to get it for free. Okay? So anyone listening, it is free for you. And so that's going to be freedomtravelsystems.com playbook and then use the code RAISE. Maybe we can put it in the show notes. And
Absolutely.
so that'll be the first thing. Second place is if you're like just want done for you services, just take off that / and go to freedomtravelsystems.com. You can talk to myself or one of the team members. And the last place, I hang out on Instagram and post a lot there. That's where we connected. And that's where I'm sharing the most, like behind the scenes. And as I'm booking this stuff, as I'm planning it, as I'm showing like what our clients are doing, you get to see more of the visuals and the fun and come along for the ride. And so I love engaging on Instagram as well.
Great. Thanks, Eli. I really appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Thanks, Seth. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, brother. Talk soon. Thanks for tuning in to Raise the Bar Radio. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Keep pushing, keep building, and keep raising the bar. Until next time, enjoy the journey.